Welcome to the Art Lady's home. Today I'm going to show you how I attach my flowers to garden stakes. And you can use any garden stake you want. It can be more permanent where you use rebar. This is just a cheap, inexpensive garden stake that I used from, I think I even picked it up at like a Home Depot or a Lowe's. But you can pick them up anywhere. The fiberglass ones are nicer because they're going to last a little bit longer than the very inexpensive ones. But this is in a protected area, and the clay pieces aren't very heavy. If you have real heavy clay pieces, then you might want to use some rebar. And even if you spray painted the rebar green, it would look a little natural. Or, like you can see here, if you leave it the natural rebar color, it just kind of rusts out and will blend in as well. So I'm going to go ahead now and show you how simple and easy it is to attach it. But before I do that, let me go ahead and show you what it looks like on the back. So here's the back, and if you did make flowers, you could have them even go all around. You can, turn them and position them any way you want to. For my situation, the flowers are, the garden stake is going to be placed in a pot, so I didn't need to worry about the back. Here's a close-up of the bird topper. To get started, you need some kind of garden stake, and then you need zip ties. And the ones I have here are 8 inches, but you could probably get away with 4 inches. You need something that's going to go around the pole and then give you a little slack to pull. And I do cut off about 3 or 4 inches of this here. So a smaller one, but I just happen to have the 8 inch. Then of course your flowers. Now the larger the flower, the bigger the pole you need. This is about a 3.5 inch flower, the largest one I'm going to be attaching today. But I'm going to choose a smaller pole to use. But your pole you want to have in relationship to the flower. And then the weight, because I need something, if you have a larger flower, you need something stronger to support it. One of my favorites for for heavier flowers is a fiberglass pole. And this one is a Miracle-Gro one that I really like, because this fiberglass pole is going to last a long time. And it's a little bit thicker, so it's going to support that heavier garden flower, especially if you're going to make it as a stack. This one I got for sunflowers, so I'm going to make sunflower stacks on here, or for the larger flowers. Here's a larger, wider option. This is a broom handle, and I picked it up from the dollar store. And it's okay for temporary, and what I mean by temporary is if you're going to use it 3 to 5 years and then you want to replace it. It's going to last as long as this metal's going to last. And we know that when we put stuff out in the garden, sometimes it rusts out and then just falls apart. But if it's in a protected area and you're careful with it, I think it'll last a long time. So that's an option too. If you don't have anything else, this is the last resort. And they do sell them separate. This is some kind of a broom or mop handle, and it's just, you can buy them just the handle in that section in a dollar store, Dollar Tree. I picked up these at one of those discount stores too, and these are metal on the inside and then coated in plastic. And this, for something that's going to last, like I said, 3 to 5 years, this is pretty good. And they come in all lengths. This is the one I have, I think, on my garden stack now. Actually, it's this darker color one here, which I tend to like better. So if you do have a choice, this darker green does look better because it kind of hides away in the garden. It doesn't stick out bright like this. I even spray painted some of these. I just hit it with some black spray paint, and it takes away the brightness of this color. So that's a little helpful. Or you can even get some darker green spray paint. But you can see here how I was kind of trying to bend the pole to create some kind of a beautiful, a prettier curve or shape, and it actually broke. So with just a simple bend, it does break easily. If you don't want to go that route, your best bet is rebar. This is a little bit harder to cut, and your Lowe's or Home Depot may cut it for you in smaller pieces. You just have to check them out. You can also attach to shepherd's hooks or plant stands and just embellish the plant stand or the shepherd hook. This is just a blank plant stand, and then I stacked my stuff on top. But you could have your rebar go in the plant stand and then attach your flower stalk to this as well. You could also attach them to, something like this where the plant basket holder is curved, and then you could have your flowers going up this post as well. I actually made a bird for on the top, and I'm going to attach him to the top. This would look pretty too, an inexpensive plant stand or bird feeder holder, and then have your flowers coming up this. And what's nice is it already has the built-in stand at the bottom. So those are just options that you can use for your stakes. You want to organize all your pieces, and for this particular stack it's going to be, smaller at the top and then it gets larger at the bottom. You want to leave space for the topper, and sometimes I make simple toppers like this where I just glue them on the top. Or for this particular one, it's going to be a little garden bird, and he hasn't been fired yet, but I am going to just plan him out because he'll rest right on top like this. So I need to have my first piece right about here. So you want to measure down as big as your topper, and then my first piece goes in. So I simply just string the zip tie through, and I want the first piece just about here. So I position it so that it rests nicely. So I don't want the hole showing, I want it like this. So, and I don't want the tag part showing, I want this to be to the back. That's my front. I'm going to just turn it around, and then I just simply secure the zip tie. And then I pull it, and then the actual locking part is right at the back. And then I really secure it tight. So that's not going to move much, especially because it's on the rebar here. I chose an extra long piece of rebar because I need it to stick up above the plants. So then let's test the topper. You can see how it's still, and that's quite nice. I'm going to adjust it a tad, just up a little bit more, and then pull it real tight. So there we have where the first piece is going. I wait before I cut these. In case I have to move them a little bit, it's helpful to have it a little bit bigger to move. Now I'm carefully positioning the next piece the way I want it. And then I'm going to tighten it up in the back. I want it kind of sideways there. And then if you want to use some of these needle nose pliers to tighten it a bit, you can. They're helpful. There, so there's my second piece. And then I'm going to attach the next bud. So I'm kind of positioning it where I want. I don't want this part showing. I want it to kind of lay like that. So I'm going to string it through, and then I want it laying this way. Before you secure your first one, kind of figure it out before you start pulling real tight. Otherwise, to undo it, you might have to cut the cable tie once you figure it out. And I want him kind of sitting sideways. So here's my pole, and the back's going to be, up against the plant. So here's the back, what it looks like as of now. And they have a little bit of movement, so you can actually kind of play with how you want them positioned exactly. Now I'm going to go ahead and attach the smallest flower. And I leave space. They don't have to be smashed up against each other, because this will just be, blend into the background. Your main concern is your positioning of your flowers. So I take a second to figure out which is going to look the best, and I want this one to look like this, and it's going to sit on the pole. I want to make sure that this is the right way, facing the right way. So I'm sliding this through. It's going to sit on the pole. I'm going to slide this through. And then I'm kind of sliding and moving the back to the back. And I want it to face this way. I'm going to leave a little bit of a gap between the pieces. And I want this moved a little bit this way. Now for the next one, for this particular flower stalk, hollyhocks are kind of on both sides. So I have this one tilted a little bit to this side, and then the next one's going to tilt this way as it's coming down the line. So the next one will fit in like this, just so it gives it a little bit of a kind of a serpentine pattern here. So this is going to go here. So here's my next one fitting in. And I like it, the way it's flowing. Very beautiful. Just attaching a leaf here, I'm tucking one in. Since this design I printed out some hollyhock leaves. I pressed them into clay and then I traced the pattern. Once you have them all kind of on there, now you're going to tighten them up to where you exactly want them, just by giving a little tug and pulling on this. And I start from the bottom and then I work my way up to the top. And once you get several more on, put something down to cushion them, because depending on how delicate you've made them, they can easily break. I want them pretty secure on this post, so it's pretty hard to move. This I want tilted a little bit to the side. You can even twist this around to get some tension. Oh, that broke, but I think it was fine. Okay. That one's pretty tight. This one's pretty tight. I want this one here. You don't want a lot of movement. Pull it tight. And these were pretty tight up top. There. So here is the completed stake. So once you have it all in place, turn it over and clip it. Now I leave about 1/2 inch to 1/4 inch. This one's a little loose, because if you clip it too close, it's going to, you could possibly pull out. I leave a little bit of a nub too in case I have to tighten it. That one's a little loose, so I'm going to give it a little pull with this. That one's pretty tight. And so I'm going to clip off the rest and I'll show you what it looks like. Here's the back. Now, if you're designing this where you see all around, you can just simply add more flowers to the back part to hide the post. But for me, it's going up against, some bushes, so it's not going to show much from the back, and I'm not concerned about the back. But there is the finished stake. Now I'll show you what it looks like in the garden. And here is the overall look of what it looks like once it's done. And the one in the front with the bird on it has the plastic coated metal. And then this one I use the rebar. And you can see how there's a space at the top for my little bird that's going to come out of the kiln soon. And the bird in the back is an example of what it looks like when it's sitting on those Dollar Tree poles, the broomstick poles or mop handle poles. It's a little bit thicker. And there's the overall look. I hope you enjoyed how to attach these and learn something new. If you're interested in tracing patterns for these designs, you can go to my Teachers Pay Teachers store. It's called the Art Ladies Store. on Teachers Pay Teachers, and there you can download the patterns.